The metallic tang of recycled water, a constant on the Indomitable, lingered acridly. It wasn't the usual sterile blandness. This was sharp, tainted with something else. Fear and blood. The taste mirrored the hollowness gnawing at Commander Lyra's gut, a constant reminder of the story told, that Deathworlder's strength ensured victory, that sacrifice was a noble calling, a bitter irony she could no longer ignore. Her elite squad, gone, ambushed on that forsaken asteroid, a place now etched in her memory as a monument to failure. Lured by a crimson hand distress beacon, a siren's call in the vast emptiness, an ancient lie whispered through the stars that had cost them everything. They'd trusted the encoded message, deemed authentic by Section 8's rigorous protocols. Betrayal wasn't a swift blade, but data streams and broken promises, a slow, corrosive acid eating away at their defenses. A cold equation where lives became mere currency, traded for some unseen advantage. Lyra ran the combat simulations again and again in her mind, desperately searching for any deviation from the official plan, any missed warning that she'd tragically overlooked. A burden of responsibility she now bore. The Indomitable was now more than just a ship. It was a gravestone adrift in the cosmos. Each thrum of its engines, once a symbol of power, each beep of its life support systems, now felt like a mocking testament to what she had so carelessly lost, to who she had ultimately failed to protect. The oppressive silence was broken only by the crackle of static, a constant reminder of their isolation. The loss wasn't merely of lives, but of something far more profound: faith. The glorious stories of Deathworlder invincibility, of the unwavering commitment of Section 8 to protecting its own, had crumbled with each body bag mechanically unloaded from the returning shuttle. Her previously unshakable belief, once an impenetrable armor, now lay shattered into a million pieces, scattered like stardust in the void. If story was nothing more than a meticulously crafted lie, what, in the name of all that's sacred, did we really defend? The mess hall reeked of recycled protein and stale regret. Illumination came from flickering neon tubes, casting long, skeletal shadows across the faces of weary crew members. Oppressive confinement clung to everything, a tangible reminder of their isolation. Rust bloomed like a disease on the metal walls, a testament to the Indomitable's age and the indifference of those who commanded it. Technician Lyra, Lyra's closest confidant, sat across from her, picking at her nutrient paste. Her fingers traced the faded tattoo of a Deathworlder serpent coiled around a shattered crimson hand symbol. "Section 8 sends their condolences," she stated, her voice flat, devoid of emotion. "They also request a full debrief on the mission failure." Lyra stared at her hands, calloused from years of combat. Condolences? Is that all? After what happened? She clenched her fist, her knuckles white. A touch of bitterness marked her as flawed and impulsive. Lyra's loyalty was her redeeming feature, a trait that had saved them on more than one mission. Lyra met her gaze unflinchingly. "Orders are orders, Lyra. We both know that. They need to assess what went wrong. The Crimson Hand is growing bold. Their influence is spreading. Understanding the circumstances is paramount to the survival of the species." She pushed a datapad across the table. Lyra ignored it. How could a report truly capture the horror? "And what about my squad, Lyra? What about their families? Will Section 8 send them condolences too, along with a pat on the back and a voucher for a new toaster?" Lyra's voice cracked, betraying the turmoil she desperately tried to suppress. Lyra averted her gaze, the silence hanging heavy between them. The unspoken truth settled. They were expendable. "Fill out the report, Lyra," she repeated, her voice softer now, heavy with uncharacteristic grief. "What else can we do? Were there memories also to be recycled, to be discarded?" Lyra's hand landed heavily on Lyra's. "I filed the report." Lyra flinched. Lyra continued, voice devoid of warmth. It was Section 8's decision. You are relieved of command, effective immediately. She pulled back, leaving Lyra with emptiness. Had their friendship been just an illusion based on lies? The silence was deafening, a betrayal that left no room for doubt. Who was this person? What had become of them? Stripped of command, Lyra found herself confined to quarters, the Indomitable now feeling less like a vessel and more like a gilded cage. Section 8, in their infinite wisdom, offered a transfer, a desk job planetside, a quiet retreat far removed from the front lines. It would be an admission of failure, a silent validation of their carefully constructed lies, a life sentence of regret and unanswered questions. The unresolved question now pounded relentlessly in her skull. Could she trust her own judgment after all of this? She couldn't. She wouldn't. Not while Silas and the Crimson Hand remained an active threat, a festering wound on the face of the galaxy. Her impulsive nature, a trait that had both served and plagued her throughout her career, now urged her to confront them head-on. Her decision, fueled by both a thirst for vengeance and a desperate loyalty to her fallen squad, was made. Her choice was concrete, irreversible. She would go rogue, abandoning her post and defying Section 8's authority. She surreptitiously accessed the ship's manifest, located a decommissioned fighter, a relic from a bygone era, and initiated a clandestine launch sequence. The immediate consequences were chillingly clear. Desertion, treason, a warrant for her. Arrest issued galaxy-wide, effectively making her a fugitive. Internally, a cold dread settled in her stomach, a heavy weight that threatened to suffocate her. She had burned her bridges, severing ties with the only life she had ever known, venturing into the unknown with nothing but her skills and her resolve. As she prepped the ancient fighter for launch, the ship's antiquated air conditioning unit sputtered and groaned, releasing a faint whiff of ozone, sharp and sterile, mixed with an almost imperceptible metallic tang. It was a barely perceptible foreshadowing of the ionized energy blasts that would soon tear through the void, a silent promise of the coming conflict. As the fighter disengaged from the Indomitable, she paused for a moment, her fingers lingering on the cold metal of her command pin, the symbol of her authority and her past. With a sudden movement, she tore it from her uniform, casting it aside as the ship was launched. Was it a final way to erase their memories or just a sign of respect for them? Lyra's fighter screamed through the void, a desperate cry echoing across the vast expanse. En route to Silas's last known location, a derelict space station ominously orbiting a forgotten gas giant. As she approached the station, the comm system sputtered back to life, a ghostly whisper cutting through the silence. It wasn't Section 8, with their carefully crafted platitudes. It was Lyra, her voice strained with urgency. Lyra, turn. Back, it's a trap. Before Lyra could formulate a response, before she could even process the chilling warning, the station erupted in a blinding flash of ionized energy, a perfect, horrifying match to the faint metallic ozone tang she had unconsciously registered earlier. Crimson Hand fighters, like a swarm of angry wasps, emerged from previously concealed docks, their weapons instantly trained on her lone, vulnerable vessel. The trap, meticulously planned and flawlessly executed, had been sprung with ruthless efficiency. Lyra's voice, now laced with static and a palpable desperation, cut through the escalating chaos of alarms and explosions. Section 8 knew, Lyra. They set you up, used you as bait. Silas is their asset, their pawn in a much larger game. Lyra's blood ran cold, a wave of nausea washing over her. Section 8, the organization she had dedicated her life to, had not only betrayed her squad, but had also betrayed her, delivering them both into the hands of the enemy. But Lyra, why was she risking everything to warn her? Why was she defying orders, jeopardizing her own life to save Lyra's? The station unleashed another devastating volley of energy blasts, relentlessly tearing through Lyra's already weakened shields. Warning alarms blared incessantly, painting the cockpit in a disorienting strobe of red and orange. She was rapidly running out of time, out of options, out of hope. Then the words come to her. "Listen to me, there is a way out." A single vessel broke formation and moved to intercept the incoming missiles, placing itself directly in the line of fire. In that split second, a moment that would forever alter the course of their lives, Lyra made her choice, a testament to her unwavering loyalty and her deep-seated sense of justice. "I am going to fight them," Lyra declared, her voice filled with a chilling resolve. "This is my final act, Lyra. Avenge our fallen. This is what you must do. Save them." And with that, her ship breaks contact and starts shooting towards the station. Lyra's sacrifice echoed in Lyra's ears, a deafening silence that overshadowed the alarms and explosions. She was alone, adrift in a crippled fighter, hunted by both the Crimson Hand and Section 8. Her immediate consequence was this: to save. Lyra memory or avenge her destruction. A garbled transmission broke through the static, a gruff voice, thick with a Corellian drawl, cut through the noise. "Unidentified fighter, this is Captain Rex of the Wanderer. You're in a world of hurt. Kid, I can help, but it comes at a price." The Wanderer was a notorious mercenary vessel, known for its ruthless efficiency and its willingness to work for anyone, regardless of their morals. Rex's reputation preceded him, a pragmatist, a survivor, and a man who always got what he wanted. He was a former Death Worlder Special Forces, an outcast that knows the truth about the stories. He was here to test if she has what it takes. Rex presented a clear choice: join his crew, gain access to resources and information that could lead her to Silas, and strike back against Section 8. Or reject his offer, remain a lone wolf, and face certain destruction. But joining Rex meant embracing the mercenary life, abandoning her principles, and potentially becoming the very thing she hated. Justice or vengeance, honor or survival. The questions warred within her. Rex's offer was the most complex that they have ever had. She had no way to find Silas without their help. "What's the price, Captain?" Lyra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He was what she needed now to find the true story. "Information always comes at a price, Commander," Rex rasped, his voice like gravel on metal. "We will attack Section 8 Outpost Theta 9. It is a great source of materials and credits." Rex smiles, a predatory glint in his one good eye. "The coordinates will be sent in 5 minutes. Prepare yourself for a reckoning, Lyra." With a heavy sigh, Lyra reluctantly activated the sent coordinates, the familiar pang of conflict weighing on her. He hadn't even given her a moment to truly think, to grapple with the moral implications of his demand. "Section 8 Outpost?" The words echoed in her mind, a haunting reminder of her past loyalties and her present predicament. This was also the place where they had betrayed them, sending her squad into a desperate situation with no hope of survival. The Wanderer was a cesspool, a den of smugglers, mercenaries and killers, each more desperate and depraved than the last. The air was thick with the cloying smell of cheap liquor, unwashed bodies, and simmering desperation, a constant reminder of the stakes they all played. Lyra stood out like a sore thumb, a Death Worlder officer amidst a motley pack of scavengers, her rigid posture and unwavering gaze a stark contrast to their relaxed cynicism. The journey to Theta 9 was more than just a raid, it was a test, a trial by fire designed to gauge her commitment to their cause. Rex watched her every move with unsettling intensity, his eyes like cold steel, assessing her worth, her vulnerabilities, and her willingness to compromise her principles for the sake of survival. The outpost was heavily defended, a formidable fortress constructed of steel and energy shields, a testament to Section 8's resources and paranoia. The attack was brutal and chaotic, a whirlwind of explosions, gunfire, and desperate cries. Rex's crew fought with a ferocity that bordered on madness, their movements fueled by greed, desperation, and a primal thirst for survival. The air tasted like ash and ozone, a familiar and unwelcome sensation that triggered a flood of painful memories, as she has seen many times. Lyra fought alongside them, her skills honed from years of combat. Yet she found herself hesitating, a flicker of doubt in her eyes, unable to fully embrace their ruthless efficiency. She was a soldier, not a pirate, trained to protect, not to pillage. A hesitation that was a new obstacle to be faced. The haunting words had come to her. Was she truly all that different from these desperate souls, or was she just lying to herself, clinging to a fading illusion of morality? As the Wanderer limped away from the ravaged Theta 9, Rex chuckled, a dry, humorless sound that grated on Lyra's nerves. Not bad, Commander, not bad at all. You have proven your willingness to get your hands dirty, to play in the mud with the rest of us. He swaggered towards her, a data chip extended in his calloused hand. Here is what you wanted, information to finally locate Silas. His exact whereabouts and habits are detailed within. That's not all it contains, Rex adds with a knowing smirk, his eyes gleaming with malice. I also possess the complete files of the individuals who orchestrated your downfall. The snakes within Section 8, who so gleefully betrayed you and your squad. They wanted Silas conveniently eliminated, of course, but needed a suitable patsy to take the fall, ensuring their own hands remained clean. They gave the Crimson Hand exactly what it craved, your unit's location, in exchange for Silas's. Convenient availability. All the intricate details are meticulously documented within this little chip. Lyra stared at the proffered chip, her mind struggling to process the enormity of Rex's revelation. Section 8, the organization she had sworn to uphold, had meticulously orchestrated the entire conflict, manipulating events from behind the scenes, sacrificing her squad and countless others in their twisted Machiavellian game of galactic politics. Silas wasn't some rogue agent operating outside the system. He was a mere pawn, a disposable tool to be used and discarded when he no longer served their purposes. If it's true, then why Lyra did what she did? Did she know something or someone? A searing wave of righteous anger washed over Lyra, eclipsing her lingering doubts and hesitations, hardening her resolve like cold steel. Lyra had sacrificed herself to expose their treachery, to give Lyra a fighting chance to seek justice, a chance that she wasn't going to waste. With grim determination blazing in her eyes, she clenched her fist, crushing the data chip in her grasp, the fragile plastic shattering into useless dust. Then we are going to war with Section 8, she declared, her voice resonating with a newfound conviction. The Wanderer transformed into a hive of feverish activity, the air buzzing with a newfound sense of purpose. The crew, initially wary and skeptical of Lyra, now regarded her with a mixture of awe and apprehension. They had witnessed her unwavering resolve, her willingness to openly defy Section 8, a force they had long feared and respected. Now, fueled by a shared desire for vengeance or simple survival, they were unexpectedly ready to fight by her side, driven by a mixture of greed and loyalty. Lyra sealed herself within the cramped confines of the ship's comm-room, the only space where she could find a semblance of privacy. Her mind racing, a whirlwind of strategic calculations and desperate last-ditch plans. First and foremost, she needed comprehensive information, a detailed understanding of Section 8's sprawling operations, their key strengths, their hidden weaknesses, their tangible assets, their influential allies, everything. But they needed allies. Section 8 has allies everywhere. As a result, she's the only one who can go against all of them. She knew that to all means she needs to convince Rex that this isn't a suicide mission. She could see their doubts by looking at the crew's faces. She activated a secure and heavily encrypted comm channel, her fingers flying across the worn console, initiating a risky call to a former contact she had painstakingly cultivated during her time within Section 8, a disillusioned analyst who had access to a treasure trove of classified data, information that could turn the tide of the coming conflict. She had to convince him to betray his oath, to abandon his loyalty, to risk everything he had for the sake of what she believed was right. The stakes were impossibly high, the potential consequences dire. The information could be used for Section 8 and against all the Alliance to protect her. "We hit Section 8 where it truly hurts, Captain," Lyra stated, her voice filled with determination, her gaze unwavering. "We systematically target their vital information centers, their heavily guarded headquarters, their clandestine communication relays, and their fortified supply depots. We inflict enough damage, enough disruption, enough pain, and only then, they will be forced to listen to the story we are trying desperately to tell them." She locked eyes with Rex, her expression challenging, daring him to question her resolve, and then asked him to move to the ship's weaponry area. Inside the dimly lit weapon room of the Wanderer, as the rest of the crew meticulously checked their blasters and calibrated their targeting systems in preparation for the inevitable storm, Lyra found Rex standing silently before a tattered photograph. It was a Deathworlder soldier, his youthful face etched with determination, but the antiquated uniform didn't match the current standard issue. The antiquated uniform matched the time frame of the story that Section 8 didn't want to be known. The Deathworlders who were betrayed and left for dead, sacrificed for political gain. "That's my brother," Rex stated, his voice barely above a whisper, without averting his gaze from the faded image. The sentence was short, almost insignificant, but it spoke volumes, conveying a depth of emotion that mere words could never capture. "He was a good man, Lyra. He genuinely believed in the story, in the ideals they preached, in the promise of justice and protection for all. But he died in the hands of these Section 8 rats, a casualty of their treachery and their greed." The photograph wasn't perfect, but Lyra could easily discern the striking similarities between the two men. The same unwavering gaze, the same determined set to their jaw, the same inherent sense of honor and duty. There was his honor code and his strategic thinking. A part of Rex had died alongside his brother on that forgotten battlefield, and it was that loss that had forged his cynical exterior, his unwavering distrust of authority, and his reluctant nature. "Why are you truly helping me, Captain?" Lyra asked, her voice soft, almost hesitant, breaking the heavy silence that hung in the air. Rex sighed, a sound laden with regret and bitterness, finally tearing his gaze away from the photograph, his eyes meeting hers with an unsettling intensity. "Because someone has to put an end to it, Lyra. Because if we don't, who will?" It was more than that. It was a respect to someone who tried to live her best, even if she had to break to accomplish her mission. The Wanderer materialized from hyperspace near a heavily fortified Section 8 research station orbiting a desolate, windswept moon. Rex's motley crew launched their diversionary attack, creating chaos and drawing the station's defenses away from Lyra's intended path, allowing her to infiltrate the facility and confront the commanding officer, determined to expose their treachery. To the galaxy, she moved with ruthless efficiency, her movements precise and deadly, effortlessly bypassing intricate security systems and silently disabling heavily armed guards, her Deathworlder training kicking in with a primal instinct. Inside the central control room, the nerve center of the entire operation, she found the commander, a smug, self-righteous man named Admiral Kale, calmly observing the unfolding battle on a large holographic display, his expression betraying neither fear nor remorse. "Ah, Commander Rostova," he greeted her with a sardonic smile, his voice devoid of any genuine emotion. I fully expected that you would eventually make your way here, driven by your predictable thirst for vengeance. Lyra advanced, her hand instinctively resting on the cold, familiar grip of her blaster, her gaze unwavering. You deliberately betrayed my squad, Admiral. You callously sacrificed innocent lives for your own twisted political games, all in the name of power. I am here to bring you to justice, to hold you accountable for your crimes. Justice, Kyle sneered, his lip curling in disdain. There is no such thing as justice, Commander, only power. You were simply a pawn, a disposable tool to be used and discarded, just like your noble brother that was in the hand of Crimson Hand. You blindly followed the orders, believing you were making a difference, but you were merely perpetuating the cycle of violence. You thought he was a hero, didn't you? But he was just another pawn in all this game, a naive fool who believed in a lie. Dude, why are you saying this about my brother? He wasn't like you, Lyra answered, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and disbelief, tears welling up in her eyes. He never would have made such a choice, never would have sacrificed innocent lives. The shocking revelation hit Lyra with the force of a physical blow, stealing her breath and shattering her carefully constructed facade of control, sending her spiraling into a maelstrom of doubt and despair. The truth broke her apart. Before Lyra could react, before she could even fully process the Admiral's shocking revelation, Rex moved with lightning speed, his blaster drawn and firing a precise shot that ended Kale's life instantly. We can't afford to give them any power, Rex stated, his face ashen, his voice devoid of emotion. He seemed so cold, detached and distant that Lyra couldn't feel any connection to him. The trust bond had been broken. A new destiny was starting. The station fell eerily silent, the sounds of battle fading into an unsettling quiet. Section 8's iron grip over that sector had been decisively shattered, but at a terrible and irreversible cost. Countless innocent lives had been lost, many brave members of Rex's crew had been mercilessly killed, and the Wanderer was heavily damaged, barely able to limp away from the carnage. Months later, Lyra stood on a desolate, windswept planet, gazing at a makeshift memorial constructed from salvaged metal and scavenged debris, a testament to the fallen members of her squad, Ilara, and all those who had been senselessly sacrificed in Section 8's twisted games. She was no longer a commander bound by duty, no longer a naive pawn of Section 8 blindly following orders. She was a warrior, forever scarred by loss and betrayal, but determined to fight for a better future, a future where the stories of sacrifice and heroism were not cynically twisted into tools of manipulation, but honored and remembered for generations to come. Now she trying to tell the truth so more bad things don't have to happen. Turning to Rex, who stood silently beside her, his face etched with a weariness that belied his age, she offered a faint, almost imperceptible ghost of a smile, a glimmer of hard-won hope amidst the darkness. "What do we do now, Captain?" she asked, her voice filled with newfound resolve. As they have made it to the end, a new journey was starting, together. As they looked towards the horizon, the stories won't die, but she could not tell the same story.